G'day guys, welcome to Shieldly Right Garage. We've got a little bit of a tall story short video situation that we're coming up with today. As you can see, Crazy Parko and I have been busy sorting out this shed. Our storage area is falling apart and we need to sort him out, so we don't have our regular content, but we do have a little bit of a tall story series coming right up. And just quickly guys, we've now got some merch available if you want to help support the channel. We've got them in 3 different colours and a whole bunch of sizes, and they're available for 45 bucks delivered anywhere in Australia. And of course these are in conjunction with our other methods of support, including our PayPal account if you wish to donate directly, and of course our Will It Start content. We're always looking for new vehicles to get up and running, so make sure you check out our links in the description for all the details. And if you send us through a photo of you wearing our merch, we'll chuck that up in one of our videos as well. Back to our main content. And so the inspiration for today's video is this piece here, and we like to call this story the Bodgy bonus. So the Bodgy bonus story. Now we were inspired by this story on account of coming across this cut since we're cleaning up the workshop and all the rest of it. And Parko, how long ago would you say that was?
About 10 years.
Yeah, I'd say it's about 10 years. So it's a hell of an adventure that we had, and join us along for this ride.
So story starts with another mic stitch up. We got 2 cars, or he got a hot tip for 2 cars anyway, up the coast, and we went there. One starter motor was needed and the other car had been sitting for a few years.
Yeah, so the plan was to actually fit the starter motor to the registered ZH Fairlane and drag the other one back using our XB wagon. You can take a quick look at the wagon now, it's looking pretty tired, but it was the tow vehicle at the time. So off we went at the end of a work day. I picked Parko up at around about 3:30 in the afternoon and made our way up north. I think it was probably closer to Newcastle, but it was quite the adventure as it turned out. So anyway, the usual 2-hour drive. We had a lot of peak hour traffic, so probably realistically 2.5 hour drive. Not such a big deal, but we rock up to the place where the first car is, separate locations, and we're greeted with the seller's partner, who's probably 8 months pregnant at the time and looking very sketchy, in a housing commission property. Inspected the cars, did the deal, paid half the money up front, and we started attempting to drive this car out, or drag it out. So we had a few stitch ups there already, didn't we?
Absolutely. I remember that the mum of the girl was there, and we got the snatchy onto it, and she just drove it flat stick.
Flat stick.
What was it, like a RAV4 or something?
It was a RAV4, it was a little 4-wheel drive, way underpowered, and just slammed this parts car straight into the asbestos fibro shed, and they did not give a damn whatsoever. And look, if they didn't care, neither did we. That's fine. But then we kept dragging this thing out, and we had it lined up for the trailer.
So here I am trying to hand winch this thing on the come along and get him up, and the spring shackle just let go. The asses just dropped to the turf, and mate, that was it. We were just skull dragging this thing on the bloody car on the trailer.
And whilst we're skull dragging this thing up, I'm trying to steer it, trying to push it, trying to find a way to get this body off the ground. We probably struggled for a good hour and a half, I reckon, just to get it that last 3 or 4 meters out of this carport and onto the trailer. It was nightmare just trying to deal with these people yammering on. Let's put it this way, it was your typical housing commission. They were your typical locals that you'd expect out of housing commission. They were bloody rough.
And that was just the women.
So anyways, we're probably hitting around about 8 PM by now. We're both pretty damn hungry, but we've finally got this heap of shit onto the trailer, ready to take off, and we find out that the bloody trailer lights aren't working. So we followed old love, who was 8 months pregnant and starting to get a bit sketchy, and we pulled up at a service station and wanted to try and fix these lights.
And she started freaking out a bit. She was keen for the coin, far too keen in fact.
Yeah, it was a bit worrying.
She wanted the money before we'd even picked up the other car, so we were slowing her down.
That's it. But we were onto it. We're like, nah, look, when we see the car, we'll pay the balance. So we probably spent a good half an hour sorting out the electrical gremlins, and then we continued following her to where the supposedly drivable registered car was.
An hour and a half later.
Yeah, it probably took another good 40 minutes to get to that car too. It was not close by like she said it was.
So I distinctly remember us showing up, going to this place, and here's the locals on the front balcony of their place, looking over us, drinking long necks.
Yeah, probably about 2 doors down and down a steep hill, wasn't it? And they seemed very bloody sus.
Yeah, they were not enjoying us in the neighbourhood, let's put it that way.
Yeah, we were clearly the outsiders.
Absolutely.
So anyway, we did a quick once over around the car and we were satisfied and said, all right, yeah, look, we'll start changing this starter motor, and jacked it up and started swapping the motor over. And once again, old love was getting a bit antsy and she wanted her coin, and Parko and I were starting to get a little bit sus between her trying to get out of there and the locals down the road that were canning on and looking at us a bit suspiciously. But we finally fitted this starter motor, and okay, we relented and we gave her money and we had the keys.
So of course, you know, starter's fitted, the locals are getting way more antsy. There's more long necks that had already been sculled. Old love's got her cash and run, and here we are trying to start the thing. No go. What's going on here, we say.
So anyway, after discovering that we had no bloody spark, via the phone light, we then raided the parts car. Thankfully we did think of getting that first. We took this parts car, we stripped the points distributor out of it and the points coil, and we hooked it up onto this electronic system. So we bypassed the electronic distributor and we chucked it in by phone light, start cranking it over. What do you know, we got some spark.
So of course we had spark and we kept trying to tick him over, and knowing our luck, ran the battery dead.
And so here we are. No jerry can, not sure how much fuel's in this car, but supposedly it was a driving car only 2 weeks prior. We then have to take the wagon, turn it around on the wrong side of the road, facing up a steep hill with a trailer behind us, and try to jumpstart this bloody thing. And do you think we got any fuel?
So then of course we checked the tank, not a drop. It was sniffed bone dry. We couldn't smell it at all.
So, like the couple of idiots that we are, with no form of jerry can, we start browsing around. We're desperate, we need to get some fuel. These locals are canning on even more, and they're getting rowdier and they're putting us on edge. So we ratted through the boot of this Fairlane and we found an old juice bottle full of water, tipped him out, straight to the local servo.
So we get down, get the local servo, we know we're in a rush. So as we go down, Mike gets in there, distracts the attendant while I'm filling up the illegal bottle, and once she was full, we were the hell out of there.
Yeah, so all up, we've probably gone about 10 minutes and chucked a little bit of fuel down the carburettor, and it actually did manage to fire up, you bloody beauty. So I chucked the remaining 2 litres in the car, and of course we had to hightail it back to the servo, had to distract the attendant again, mention about how small our jerry can was, while Parko filled it up again, illegally, as you do, and straight back to the Fairlane. So we probably had about, I don't know, 4 litres in total at best in this car, desperate to get the bloody thing running.
As you know, with lines being dry and no fuel being in it at all, the 4 litres was sucked up pretty quick. Luckily, we did manage to get the jump on, and we'd already been to that servo. We couldn't get back there any quicker, while the locals shouted us down as we drove down the road.
That's it, turn the wagon around as quickly as possible and off we went. So anyway, Parko manages to nurse this ZH Fairlane to the local servo. Finally, we just filled the whole thing right up. Full tank of premium, we wanted to get the hell out of there. The locals were not bloody happy. I suspect that the whole thing was a setup, and the local cockroachers were ready to knock off this car. If he had gone home to take this parts car home, Parko would have been confronted if he'd stayed behind, and if we both left, that car would have been gone by the morning.
That's
for sure.
100%
100%.
fact,
100%.
That's a fact.
So, by the light of the service station, we tuned this Holly carburettor as best as we could, and we hightailed it the hell out of there.
I'm not one for being too cold. I'm shorts and t-shirts all year round, but I'm telling you now, that's the coldest drive I've ever had in my life. We were driving down, sitting on the $1.10, all the way back down the freeway. I thought I was going to freeze to death. The only thing that I could find in the thing was a picnic rug, which I managed to wrap around my legs. And then I had no jumper either because it was only going to take a couple of hours. Another mic stitch up.
Yep. And what time did we get home? About 4 a.m. or 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. That's it.
We got home at 3 a.m. Right.
And this, folks, is where I think the best part occurs, because about 2.5 hours later, after Crazy Parko got home and parked the car, he was woken up to his wife belting the crap out of him, accusing him for going out with me, out drinking, out having a good time, because as it turns out, she woke up and she saw the car parked out in the middle of the bloody street.
So after the wife went ballistic at me and accused me of being under the piss and DUI and not even being able to drive the car properly, it turned out to be that our local cockroaches, and not the ones that we were most worried about, were the ones that had actually tried to knock off the car. Someone had had a go of trying to jimmy the locks, got in, tried to do the ignition barrel, only managed to roll the car out in the middle of the road, abandoned ship, and just left it there.
And so eventually the Fairlane met its fate, as did the parts car. And as we're pulling it apart, we actually did find some bonuses here and there, like I found an XA GT scoop, bonnet scoop somewhere, and we found a few dollars in coins here and there. And every time we found it, we go, hey, there's our Bodgy bonus. You know, look, this was one of the sketchiest, bodgiest nights we've ever had, dealing with these locals, but we actually did come out on top. I don't think they were expecting us to be as resilient as we were. But,
That's for sure, man.
And the irony is, after all of this headache, we actually drove this Fairlane for a good 6 months. It did have some registration, and it ended up giving up its driveline. It gave up its diff, motor and box for the Apollo Blue Landau that we got here.
Even
We've also,
Splatty was driving.
yeah, Splatty was driving it. You'll meet Splatty in an upcoming video. He's got a cool 65 Pontiac Parisienne, so we're going to be doing some work on that. And he's also got a tall story as well.
So with all the bits and pieces that we ended up finding out of this car, with the money, sockets, there was all sorts of crap, just random shit in there that we kept finding, and it just became known as the Bodgy bonus. That was just the slang term that we sort of came up with, and everything there in and after forevermore became a Bodgy bonus. If we got a car and it had something in it, hey, it's a Bodgy bonus, and therefore the name just stuck.
Yeah, it's created a life of its own now, that one adventure.
Yep. It was good to see the parts as we you know, rifling through everything, and you know, the memories that it brought up, good, bad, indifferent.
That's it.
But it was good.
And of course, guys, this was previous to all of our adventures that we're now showing you on film. We do have a few more tall stories to tell, and I reckon you guys have got a few to share as well. And look, yeah, this is life with cars, and I'd love it if you guys in the comments just shared some of your stitch-ups. I'm sure there are many out there. And you know what? It creates a bloody good bonding experience too with your mates.
So guys, you know, at the end of the day, it just goes to show you don't get these kind of stitch-ups just going around doing your thing at a willy-nilly. When you have friends like Mike and friends like me, you're always going to get stitched up one way or another.
And there's always a story or two.
Correct. And that's what builds long-lasting life bonds.
Yeah, look, it does. And look, you guys that are watching this channel, you're all here because you're into the same things that we are, and you know, you obviously view us as an extension of your mateship, you know, that you got with your own mates and your own stitch-ups and your own stories. So do make sure you share some of your stories with us, and you know, we'll have a few more stories that we share. So when we have some of our downtime, yeah, look, we do. So there'll be a little short story series. We hope you enjoyed this one. You know, because when we have a bit of downtime and we can't quite get our usual content out, we'd certainly still love to share with you guys, and we hope you enjoyed it. Anyway, this has created some good flashback memories, and there's a cheers to that, I reckon, mate.
Damn right.
It's been a bloody pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.